you going, guys? Steve here from Australian 4x4 Adventures, and it is finally time to do some more drawers. Another build video, DIY, learn how to do this yourself. Okay, so for me, a cutting list is exactly this. So we'll draw a machine list. So that's pretty much everything there. As long as it stops focusing on me and starts focusing on the paper, we're good. So the way that I've always set out a cutting list is ends, sides, back. That's generally the way you'd normally do it, because it's sort of anyone else who reads it down the track sort of understands ends, sides, back. It just works. So what I mean by that is the end of the drawer set, or drawers in this case. So I need two at 380mm tall by 1130 long is sort of what I'm chasing there. Then the top and bottoms in this case, because they're not sides, 6 at 520 by 150, because I don't want to do solid top and bottom because it's just going to add more weight. There is a separate panel that's going to go over the entire thing, so there is that full panel there, but I just want rails that I can basically screw that panel into from underneath. That's the idea of it. Basically an internal back. I've obviously wrote internal, so I know it's internal, because normally most of our stuff is external back, so that's just a little reminder for myself when I'm building it later. From there is the next drawer and the next drawer. Yes, there's 3 drawers in one. I know, how cool is that? And then I'm doing a little solid timber benchtop section in there as well, just because it's something cool and something different. I know a lot of people are trying to keep weight down and everything else, which is a big factor, but for me, that one little solid bit of timber is going to be more beneficial for chopping boards and cleaning and cleanliness, and I think it's going to be a cool feature, and especially the way that it does stuff. It's going to be super cool, super cool. So that's just my basic cutting list for getting the project going. So I've measured up the car, I've measured the space I had, and then set it out. After I've set it out, we cut it all. So I have actually already pre-cut this. I've done this just before. But this is the entire drawer set right here. That's not a big pile. Like, it's not even that heavy. I can pick the entire thing up. It's not that bad, considering how much stuff is going into this one drawer. It's a really small pile. Like, normally for a kitchen, the pile's taller than me. It's huge. So this is tiny for what we're doing in there, and there's really not a lot of weight. This is about 1.5 sheets of board, not a lot of material. I will use another half a sheet to do the solid top later. So it's about 2 sheets in total. Really not a lot of material. So one thing I will be doing this time that I didn't do in the last video is that cutting list. I'll actually be releasing. Obviously, you've probably got a pretty good screenshot of it before, so you can go back and just stop it on that part of the video and take a screenshot of it. But in the description down below, I'll type it all out, and it'll all be written out there for you to use and utilize if you want. Obviously, this is going to be specific to my setup, so you can adjust the sizes as you need and adjust any requirements for what you're specifically after. I didn't do it last time because I didn't want people to copy it, not because I was worried about any copyright stuff. I wanted to sort of make people do their own thing. But I've had thousands of messages since the last video. Can I have this? So I'm just going to release it from the start. It is what it is. So cutting list will be in the description down below. Also towards the end of the video, there's going to be some bonus content on that stuff as well, on what we're doing. So stick around and watch for that. Okay, so if you've been a long time follower of the channel, you know that I've done a build video before on how to make drawers for the back of your four-wheel drive, overlanding car, all that sort of stuff. That video's at like 300,000 views now, so clearly it worked and people liked it, which is quite nice. So if you haven't seen that, maybe go search in the channel for that video if you're interested in another build video on how to build your own drawers as well. That was using Teflon slides, so it was completely different to what we're going to do with this build for this time around. If you're new to the channel and you're only just finding it now, due to this video, maybe think about liking, subscribing, and hanging around to see what else is coming up in the channel for future updates. Right, so brand new car, Y62 Patrol. My circumstances have changed slightly from when I built the last set for the 200 series. I didn't really have kids back then, so I could sort of utilize the entire space and not worry about needing extra room. Everything was set for a specific item and everything worked really well for camping, but it was kind of useless to get anything else in the car. I couldn't get a pram in there now I've got kids, and it just became really hard. So that car kind of went, not just because of the drawers, but it was a contributing factor. I didn't want to remake them. I like those drawers, they were really cool. This one though, because I've got kids, I need room in the back for day-to-day stuff, but I still need lots of storage for when I go camping, because I don't want to have to add extra boxes and this and that. It's very painful when things just aren't in your car full time. Yes, I know it makes your car heavy, but that's just, it's a factor. Whatever, you get over it. So with this one, I'm just going with single drawer all the way, well, single drawer for this section here. A couple of funky things in there. You have to hang around and find out what I'm doing there, because there's a lot of components and lift ups and outs and fold outs and everything else that sort of go in this section here. There's a lot of detail, but that's going to be a super cool drawer on that side there. This one just runs over the top, and then I'm going to do like a little switch panel slash control panel slash battery shunt, all that sort of stuff, like a little control module up here. I'm doing that mainly because I don't want to have a separate panel on the side and lose the extra width from the drawers and the table and all the bits that are going in here, so I can maximize the width of that storage. I can lose an extra 50 or 60 mil there and still have plenty of storage up the top here for bikes, prams, bags, all the bits and bobs that you need for a family these days. I've just gone with the ever cool 40 litre drawer fridge. I think that's going to be more than enough to suit my needs for now, mainly because I've got the camper trailer and the caravan. There's both build series on those as well, so if you want to go watch me build an entire camper trailer from the ground up, check out the channel for that one as well. So this is there for longer trips when it's just the car. I do plan on having just a separate fridge, whether it go on top here or in the back seat, just for extra fridge or freezer space if I need it, if I'm not towing. So I'm trying to think of all the options for what I might need here. Cool, so that's the plan. Alright, so when it comes to building the cabinet, this you don't need a nail gun, it just makes life easier. So whether that be pneumatics or air operated or a Paslo one where it's basically a battery slash gas thing, you can do it with hammer and nails if you really wanted to, or you can just glue and screw it. It's just a little bit more fiddly. The nails pretty much just hold things together while you're putting the screws in. That's pretty much the only purpose of the nails. The glue and the screws do all of the work long term. So I always like to set the cabinet out laying down. So as I said before, this doesn't have a solid base and a solid bottom. I'm using rails instead, so I'm keeping weight down. Essentially, top rail, bottom rail, in the middle, and at the back as well. So I've got 6 rails going all the way through for the entire thing. That's basically from the front of the carcass. I'm going to be seeing that entrance and opening, and that's sort of going to give me that look of a solid drawer, but I'm not utilizing all this extra weight. I don't need it. I need the rail in the middle just to hold everything there, and then I've got an internal back which holds the entire thing square. Super simple. And it cuts down on material. So that's our basic box. So I'm going to use the 2 down, as my 2 rails will be going down, because I'm only going to be able to screw it in from the back and the front down to the false floor they've already got in the car. This one I wanted the rail up top because once this top goes on here, this just acts as extra support for that bench top, or the solid top on top, which will end up being carpeted. Just gives it a little bit more rigidity, so I start crawling in there with my lard ass. This should help support it in that regard. So, what I've got, a back. So you're probably wondering why these specifically were cut at 150 mil. It's not just a random size, I actually worked it out. This back essentially goes in here like that to create a whole separate cavity on the back there. So this is the back of the drill, that's the front. My inverter is going to be mounted in there and my drawers start in front of it. So I'm utilizing this backspace here. My runners are 1.16 m long, so that's enough space for what I'm doing there. This makes up the space for the inverter. I'll end up drilling a couple of holes on the side just for more ventilation and probably do a little grill on top here as well as on the other side where the back of the fridge is to allow for more ventilation for the fridge as well. So that's the idea of that. If you don't have an inverter, or if it was thinner, fatter, whatever, this can be adjusted back and forth. Then obviously everything else needs to be adjusted to suit what you're making. Alright, so now that that's all built and you can basically see the overall what we've achieved, now it's time to go through pre-drill everything because ply will split. So find the right size drill bit for the screws you're using. I'm probably going to do 2 screws per rail, as in two screws this side, 2 screws this side. So I'm probably going to use like 30 screws on this thing here. But don't forget, it's going to couple a lot of abuse, a lot of twisting and movement in the car and loads moving around because if stuff's loose in the drawer, things are going to move. So I want this to be as strong as I possibly can because I hate squeaks in the car. So screw the hell out of it. Alright, so now it's all kind of built in this regard. Time to do just a quick test fit in the car to make sure, like, you know, length, width, everything sort of works. A little bit nervous, not gonna lie. Biggest test is going to be closing this. Oh, touches. Alright, there's only touching by a tiny bit. I reckon my solution is going to be, because the inverter's only like that tall, so I'm thinking maybe if I go from, because the back seats are on a bit of an angle and it's just touching at the top so I can't push in as much, so I'm thinking I'll go from nothing and cut off like 30 mm up there, so this basically have that sitting on an angle, should all be good. So I'll mark that out, probably cut it in a jigsaw, problem solved. See, we all get it wrong occasionally. Alright, a little bit chopping and changing, what we got there. So essentially just cut the top edge off, cut a bevel on there, and that's going to fit in contour to the back of the seat. I've made sure there's still enough room to get the inverter to go in there. It's a little bit squeezy, I will admit. Probably could have made this whole thing 20 mm smaller. Oops. Anyway, so we're good there. So that's essentially the main box done. That was super quick and easy. Goes in there. Easy. Let's build some drawers. Okay, so this one's a little bit trickier because we're doing 2 drawers in one plus another bit inside as well. So there's essentially 3 components just to this one setup. This is where it gets a little bit more brain power required, even for me. Alright, so essentially we've got sides of the drawers, our base, and our faces. But our face doesn't line up with the side of the drawer. That's because our base actually comes up and meets the bottom of this, allowing for space underneath to have another drawer underneath there. So it means a little bit of set out before we even start building. So we take our 2 sides, we take our face, and we use that as a guide to start with. So that's straight on there, and there's our line. Once we've got our line, then it's a slide square, and we can continue that line all the way across. That's essentially the quickest and easiest way to set that point. Always kind of like mark a top That way you know your tops and your bottoms. You don't have to constantly remeasure stuff. I'm fairly sure it was an internal. Yeah, so it's an internal base. So the base, that's the bottom line. So the base is inside that. So that's essentially our draw and our height just there. So it is fairly small on purpose. Everything's made to suit the draw bags that I've got. So normal draw bags about 160, 165 mil. I've got 170 mil internally there. So it is tight, but I'm trying to get a lot of stuff in a small space. So I can't afford to have 30, 40, 50 mil on top of the drawers, on top of the bags that are empty space. So yes, it's tight. So base goes on top. So before I even think about trying to put stuff together, basically grab your slide square, minus off, well it's 15 mil, so 7 mil ish. Bring that in by 7 mil. Turn it over and mark a nail line. Because you're going to want to know where to nail it, otherwise you're going to get it wrong. Simple as that. So we've got our inside, nail line, baseline, good to go. Where lines become important because this board's bowed, so I basically got to pin the corners and then try and straighten it out and nail it at the same time. But you have to use your lines to get it right. Obviously you can use the front and back to set the original spot. Now, you see what I'm looking at nail line now? Now that this is there, that gives me a perfect line to shoot across. All I have to do is make sure that the base is straight underneath and lining up with the original line, and it shouldn't miss. I say shouldn't because I tend to still miss. Alrighty. Happy days, that fits. So once again, our gap for our runners, based on what the specifications are for the runners. Got a bit of a gap in here as well. That's for our bench top, which I've got to go to Bunnings and buy because that's the cheapest place to buy, to be honest with you. Not even my suppliers are as cheap as Bunnings for just a 20 mil timber. Seriously, can't even buy it for that. So that's mostly it. There's a lot going on right there, and there's still a hell of a lot more to go. So I'm going to go to Bunnings, buy that. Then we'll go home and we'll start actually putting the runners in, getting all ready, paint it, carpet it, wiring, electrical. I'll show you what battery we've got as well. So there's already a battery in here. Obviously you can see the fridge is running, like, well, it's hidden. So that's awesome. We'll go through where that is and how that's all going to be wired up properly. And some vents and stuff as well. I've got to get some vents. So maybe while I'm at Bunnings, I'll try and find some vents that I'm happy with to put into the top to let all this stuff breathe. Let's do that. Alright, so took the unit home last night and put the runners in. They're just temporarily screwed in, so I didn't bother filming it, showing it, because I'm going to redo it again later once it's all done. But essentially, one drill pulls out, and then the next one pulls out. It's a lot of drill. I've got a little secret bracket down there. You might have got a glimpse of as it went out. I'm going to show you that in a minute. That's part of what this is about as well. So I went down to Bunnings, like $65 or something. Solid timber, 18mm top. It's good for bench tops or food grade or whatever. This is a panel spec right Merbu utility panel. Kiln drying, select grade, blah blah blah. It's just a timber top. I'm just going to re-oil this with like vegetable oil and stuff like that, just so it doesn't have any chemicals on it. That way we can use it as a chopping board, and if it gets all cut up and munted and stuff over time, you just sand it back and re-oil it. That's the idea behind this. And it's a decent size top as well. Obviously I've got to cut this size now. We'll mount it on to where it's going to go. And then it's pretty much take everything back apart again and paint it all black so it sort of disappears. And then we can start looking at carpeting, wiring, and fitting it to the car. Super excited about this one. Super excited. Alright, so what's happening here, this is basically the bench stop section here. Obviously the first drawer with all the bags going up there. The second drawer, this is going to be all the cooking utensils, the induction cooker, all the bits and pieces. As I choke, all the bits and pieces go in this drawer here, but where's my bench stop? Essentially, my bench stop sits on top of that. Obviously I've got to cut this to size, and then it picks up and goes out of the way. And that's what these brackets are about here. So these basically get mounted to the side of the drawers, that way, and then it picks up and out to that there. This one's already fitted, so I push that up. You can see that motion of going out of the way. So that way, if you've got stuff sitting on your bench here, and oh, I forgot a knife, you can pick that up, grab all your stuff out, put it back down, or even use it up here, and you don't have to take everything off the bench, so it's usable the entire time. I thought that was super cool. Obviously, I'm not the first person to do this. There's been this design around for a while. I just really like it, and I want to show you guys how to do it. So first off, I'll put a link to these in the description down below. So if you want to buy these specific brackets, look down in the description down below in the video. There'll be a little link there. I think I got them off Amazon Prime Australia, whatever it was. So that's where they're coming from. I was going to mount this hard up to here, but by the time this goes on, well, I done this last night, so that one was done last night. By the time this one goes on, comes up, it actually hits on the handle of the runner. So I'm going to just cut another bit of board for there, pack it out another 15 mil, and that'll clear that handle, no dramas at all. I'll cut that now, mount that, and then we can cut the actual bench stop and chuck everything in. Alright, so I've got my extra bit of timber in. Now it's literally, that goes hard up to the back corner, down to the bottom. So you've got plenty of clearance now for our handle. I'm just doing a couple of temporary screws just to basically get it in there and hold it. So I can do a test fit and make sure it's all working for me. So now that's done, basically they can be pulled down, that all goes in there, and you can see how it sort of slides in and out. Because of that there as well, I need to make sure when I cut this, that my bench stop clears this as well, because that's going to go on top of it, which means my bench stop's going to finish pretty much in line with this bit of timber here. Schmicko. I've just done a couple of checkouts in the face. So basically these ones, they can either be done with a router or a jigsaw. I've done it with a router just so, because it's what I had. Pretty much just sits just a couple more below there, and it allows for that to go down. Even if you stuff that up and make it slightly too big, like I slightly have, when you carpet it later, you just cut the carpet out to there and it's going to cover that extra hole. So it's not super critical. Obviously the need is better, but it's not the end of the world. From there, basically just screw it on from the back, making sure everything's centered. And the next one as well. So this is actually the one piece that I've just cut out, and then I'm going to basically put it back in like such. It works a treat. And then later on, I can basically just carpet the entire thing and just cut out in between. It's going to almost look like one complete piece, just with 4 handles on it. struggling to see the line. I'm thinking it might be easier to take these brackets back off, lay it down, screw it to the tabletop first, and then do it. The drama is I only marked this one side, I didn't mark the other side, so I'll persevere. Alright, so that's everything pretty much fitted into the drawers. I've only, as I said before, I've only put in like temporary screws, so not everything's screwed off 100%, because we're getting to the most boring part of the entire build, taking it all apart again and painting it, which sucks. I hate it, but anyway, it's all part of it. So basically it means all the drawers out, all the runners off, everything apart, no hardware left on whatsoever. Paint every surface that's going to be seen. You can paint every surface that's not going to be seen if you want to as well. I probably will, because I'm an anal prick. Oh, I'm not looking forward to this, but I always hate tearing stuff apart that I've just built, because it feels like you're going backwards. Anyway, it's all part of it. So, tear it all apart, paint it. Once I've done that, we'll be back. So if you plan on actually using your bit of timber, if you've used timber for this style of thing, and you actually want to cut on it and not worry about getting poisoned, because any type of polyurethane or lacquer, that sort of thing are all basically a poison. So as soon as you cut into it, it's going to be released into your food. It's not ideal. This is just tung oil, so it's a natural oil, perfectly safe to sort of use. Does take a few coats to get it right. So this is basically going to be one coat now, let it dry for an hour, wipe off the excess, let it dry for 24 hours, and then repeat that process a further 2 times. So it's 3 coats of that sort of setup. So it's a little bit labor intensive, time consuming, because it's basically 3 or 4 days to do all that, but the finish you get from it, spectacular, and it's all redoable. So if after a while this is all cut up and horrible and sort of looking a bit worn out and worse for wear, sand it back, re-oil it, good as new. Alright, I think that's good for the first coat. I'm only going to do 1 coat underneath, which I've already done. Top and edges are going to get the 3 coat treatment. Right, so we've moved workbenches now, and it's time to start doing some carpeting. This is the top of the unit. It's separate to the actual drawers, so this basically gets fixed down later. I've got the top here, which has already been cut out, and carpet. Best contact that I found in a spray can is called, it's an L17 tensor grip. Never even read the name of it until just then actually, so we're all learning something here. with this stuff, obviously being contact adhesive, you basically got to spray both surfaces. So it's spray the carpet, spray the actual timber, let it dry a bit until it's tack dry, and then it can go on. Don't use any of the other ones where it's just a fine mist. This one essentially has, it's like a web. You can see that. And of course, my camera just went flat. So, damn thing. So this part's going to be recorded on my phone. So if it's slightly different, that's the reason why. All right, so L17 for the actual glue. Sprayed up the board, sprayed up the carpet, letting that dry now. You're gonna want about 80% coverage on the board and stuff. So that's the idea behind that. Is you don't need exactly 100% coverage because it's not really got any loose edges on it. So you don't have to use quite as much as what you think. Okie dokie. Now for the fun part. So this is going to be done in 2 stages. Basically try and center it over it the best you can. The carpet's just cut much bigger than what it actually needs to be. So you don't have to be super accurate with it. That's pretty much trying to get all the air bubbles out of it. Done. Don't forget, contact adhesive is pressure sensitive. So some sort of roller, a big bit of timber that you can sort of use to press it down. Just anything to put a bit of pressure on it. It's going to help make it stay there for a lot better. Focus on the edges a fair bit, especially with what's coming up next. Now that's done. Spin her over. I want to focus on the front edge because that's sort of the main edge you're all going to see, which that is this end for me. A little bit more because we're going to try and roll this carpet around. So it's just, I've already sprayed the carpet. I'm just going to give the edge and the bottom edge just a little bit more. Alright, so I'll stipulate by saying I'm not a professional carpet layer. So I may stuff up the cut here, but we're all giving it a go as we go. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is grab my roller again. I'm actually going to try and roll this edge as best I can. So that's like a 45-degree angle to try and get the carpet to start bending. And then just come back and go over it at a more and more severe angle every time. So that's pretty much 90 degrees now, and that carpet's bent around nicely. Now, the tricky part, trying to figure out exactly which way to cut this is going to be the hard part. So I might roll this all the way over. So to help this as well, just a little staple gun. If it works, there it goes. Just for some extra security. This is never going to come undone. Alright, and that's our leading edge done. Now it's trying to figure out these cuts. Alright guys, so welcome to the studio / my shed at home. So stage 2 of this is sort of making it all look pretty. So obviously we've built the actual drawer unit now, we've built the drawers, we put them in the car. Now it's time to do some of the trim stuff. So I've gone ahead and made this one just so I can show you what this is about. And then we're gonna make another one for up on top of the fridge. So essentially it's a nice carpeted finish. All of my bits and bobs are in there. So I've got my Venergy battery shunt monitor, got a switch for the twin compressor, which is gonna go on the back, the compressor outlet, which I've lost somewhere, but essentially it's gonna just be the compressor outlet right there. And then just another USB or cigarette lighter, unsure yet, on the bottom there. So it's all nicely carpeted, finished, nice and neat and tidy. So how we make that is just with this. So it's literally just a bit of form ply. I've used slightly thicker on this one purely because this one's actually going to help support the top edge of the fridge, or on top of the fridge here, because it spans above it. And this is going to house a bunch of stuff. So I've gone to Outback Accessories. Not sponsored, paid full price for all this stuff. Oh my god, a YouTuber that paid full price! Who would have thunk? Literally just bought a whole bunch of stuff off of them for what I wanted. So I've got a dual USB or cigarette lighter, whichever one you want to use. Just basically these, they slide into the side there, and an Anderson plug in the guts. So the idea of the Anderson plug for me is this can be my solar input at the back of the car. Or I could use this as an out, because if it's all disconnected to power, because the solar panel has its own regulator, I could plug a travel buddy in. I could whatever else runs off an Anderson. What bloody runs off an Anderson plug these days? Seriously, thinking about it, I'm probably wasting my time. No, but that's the idea of this setup here, that I can solar is my main thought for that. On the other one, I've basically just got a 3-gang, which is going to be more USBs and another cigarette lighter on the other side. So I've gone ahead and I've marked them up. So I basically placed them where I want them to go on each side, and I've traced out the lines from there. This stage it's super simple. It's pretty much just cut it out and make sure it works. And then we can go on to how do we carpet this. So you're going to do that. That's right. I'm doing it that way. Alright, so number 2 done. Alright, now that that is done, put all these things out of the way a bit. A little bit of carpet. Pretty much that fits, so we're good to go. So you're going to want to, yep, doesn't really matter what side you go. How about I'll take you over to the spray booth, because I'm not spraying on this thing. And we'll have a look. Okie dokie, so welcome to the spray booth, also known as not my bench over there. So pretty much the best way I've always found to do it is lay out your carpet, the side you're going to be spraying, lay out a bit of timber on top of it, the side that you want to carpet. So that is the back for me, that is the face. And then it's pretty much go for the edges first. And most of your overspray, because of how small this is, does your material straight away as it is. Once that's done, shove it out of the way, and then just fully coat what's left. That's it. Now we wait for it to dry a little bit, and we can stick it together. Alright, so the advantage to this stuff is it really does not take long to dry at all. So you put your carpet down, put it on top. Really doesn't matter if it's completely straight or not, but you can see already that's stuck. Apply a bit of pressure, because contact is pressure sensitive, so a little bit of rolling there. And then from this point, it's basically try and roll it up and just give it a bit of a move to try and get that carpet to bend the way you want it to bend. For this one, I'm going to actually roll it all the way over. Hopefully it stays there. From there, just a quick staple on the back, because we didn't actually put any glue on this side, if you remember. Oh, I ran out of staples. That's unfortunate. Job done. Well, kind of. If I had more staples, I would have stapled it all the way down, so it held 100%. And that's fully carpeted. Now it's pretty much just go through with a Stanley knife, cut out all of your cutouts, and it's literally finished, and it will come up like that one. It is so simple to do these things. Morning! So, I'm actually back at work now, and I've got my little panel in, so I'll show you what that basically is. So it's just sitting here at the moment, but it's in nice and tight because all this is screwed together now, and then the top screwed down to the base. It's sort of pulled down nice and tight onto the fridge, so it's relatively stable just as it is. So I'm probably just going to do some fixings on top, because with carpet and stuff, once you screw into it, the screw basically disappears underneath it. So I'm undecided. It's pretty stable, so I might even just leave it for a while and just see how it goes. Don't know. So so it's a USB and a USB-C. Then we've just got like a cigarette lighter point, dual USBs again, my inverter power, so essentially I can turn that on and off from remotely, so I don't have to try and get behind the seat. On the side here is the Renogy battery shunt / monitor. So we can see it's the 240 amps, it's 100%, 14.2 volts, and that's obviously with the car off, so it's clearly fully charged. And then obviously current draw and all the rest of it. Haven't done this section yet, but that's obviously the switching for the ARB compressor. That'll be the hose for that, and then the lead, which will be coming through from there. Inside a little bit's changed, and I haven't shown much of it yet because it's super dark in there, and it's really hard to film anything. And I'm trying to do it at night because it's almost the only time I get. So, phone torch. Alright, so excuse the mess, but it is what it is. So up in the corner here, I've got the, I'll do this maybe, the battery charger. So that's the iTech World 40 amp battery charger. Works really well. It's actually super simple, not a lot to go wrong with it. I actually really like it. ARB twin compressor mounted up the top, because I've got other plans for the area down here. I've got the iTech World, this is the brand new one. This is the iTech World 240X Pro battery. So the main difference between the old ones and the new ones is the X Pros, the number that's on the battery is what it's minimalistically stated to, and that's probably the wrong word, totally the wrong word. But pretty much what it states is what you get, where before, like the 120X, you only really had 105 usable amp hours, but this one you get a usable 240 amp hours. There's some testing and stuff coming on that battery fairly soon, so keep an eye on the channel for that one. Maybe like and subscribe, don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss out on the video. Alright, everything else in here. So I've gone with the, obviously that's the shunt down here, the fuse panel, and everything else going from there. So Renogy 3000 watt inverter off to the side, and everything's roughly, and I emphasize roughly, really roughly wired in, because I'm just trying to make sure the way I'm wiring it is correct before I go through and make it 100% neat and fail safe for future use down the track. We're getting very, very close to being finished. Also up on top, I cut in a little vent on top there and screwed a little vent down. So that's ventilation for the fridge to come up, because the fridge does get quite warm in the compressor compartment. So I'm trying to keep as much ventilation in that area as I can, at least letting some hot air out. I don't know if it's going to work. Hopefully it works, but that's my way of trying to work out with the heat. Alright, so we're very much getting to the end of the build now. Most of this stuff is all working, but I've still got to figure out how we're going to do the 240 volt power out to the drawers. So with the inverters, trying to get it's the trick of trying to get the power from there out to here. On the previous car, I did have a GPO that I could use, but I found that was very restrictive on leads reaching to it, because I use a mobile induction cooker. I wanted to do something, ideally I wanted like a retractable lead, kind of like an air hose sort of thing, but I couldn't find one. So my best solution that I've sort of come up with, thought about now, the idea of this hole down here was basically that lead goes and plugs into the inverter, that goes through the hole, and I can pull this lead sort of in and out, just sort of feed it back into the cavity that's in here, and that can just sort of sit in that space down there. That's kind of the idea at the moment. What it means though is, because I don't want to have to drill a giant hole in here, I'm going to cut this off and put my own plug back on the end, and hopefully it works. Okay, so we're officially done with the drawers. Now let's just run through them in detail so you guys get to see what they look like finished. Okay, so just from the outside first. So before we open anything up, we'll basically go through what it looks like from the outside. So, the 40 litre Evercool fridge. Excuse me messing here because I've just been away on a 3-week trip and I haven't quite cleaned the fridge yet. Overall, that fridge has got to be one of the best little drawer fridges I've ever seen in my life. Super efficient, uses bugger all power. There's no rattles in it, which is, in a wagon, super important. Well, mine doesn't rattle. I've heard some people say some rattle. Mine doesn't rattle. Don't know whether that's an installation method or just bad luck. I've no idea, to be honest with you. The instrument panel. So this part has proven to be super handy overall. Obviously got the USB and USB-Cs, cigarette lighter points, which that's mainly for my lights for the bushwhacker awning. Inverter power, so I can turn the inverter on and off from here, and obviously more USBs and an input as well. So I actually use that for solar while I was away because it's just a convenient spot to have it, which surprisingly worked really well. And then obviously my little plaque. I love my plaque. How cool is that? So that's proper stainless steel. Love it. And then the patches. So if you want, actually there you go, a little bit of a plug for the merch. If you want patches, stickers, hoodies, jumpers, t-shirts, anything to do with merch, obviously Australian4x4adventures.com.au. Jump on the web store, support the channel. It'd be great. Love it. The last part from the outside, obviously got the Renogy shunt. You've got to be careful saying that one. So that's all the details there, and obviously what's going on with it. Compressor, that's worked a treat so far being there. The outlet for it, and then obviously the 240 volt power from the inverter, which works a treat. Alright, I know you want to see it open and see how it all works now it's finished. It's cool. I've had this has actually been finished now for about 3 months in the car. I've been on a couple of big trips with it. It works really well for me. So let's open it up. So if you do make these for yourself, there's a couple of things that I've designed in, not on purpose, but it's just the way it's worked out to be. I purposely left a finger gap here between the fridge and there, because that's how I grabbed the drawer, because I didn't want to put a handle on the face of it. So it's literally put your hand in there, hand on the side, pull the 2 tabs down, and then just give it a bit of a pull out, and it works an absolute treat. There's one on this side, one on this side, pull, and it's all the way out. Bags and tops I'll go through in a second, and obviously some bits and bobs up here I'll show you in a second as well. Put this away to start with, because I want to show you the other part first. I'm going to modify this slightly. I'm basically going to weld on a bar to the front so I can just grab one bar and pull it open. Just haven't got around to it yet, but it's something you guys can definitely do to yours if you're making your own. For me, this one is basically push down, and I have got these tabs here, so I can pull the tabs out, which is how I was doing that. It is the simple lip handle from cabinet maker, from a cabinet shop. You can get it from Bunnings, everywhere you want to go with it. So when this one's all the way out, obviously these runners do lock out. The lift up table, they're okay, the stays, I wish they had a stabilising bar, because essentially if you just pick it up from one side, it just wants to go, so you kind of got to triangulate, one on each side, go from there. Keep in mind, when it's only the single drawer open, it does touch on the back tailgate, unless you want to cut it shorter. I wasn't worried about it, because 9 times out of 10, that's enough for me to grab out what I need to grab out, and I can put it back if it's just this setup. Or if I want it all the way open, I can open up both drawers, and it opens up without hitting the rear tyre there. So that was the nice way there. So for quick roadside stop though, I just want to do a cuppa. It's literally that up. I can pull the induction out, chuck it there, plug it in, pull this back in while it's all just doing its thing. And I don't have to, say it's raining, I'm still undercover doing it without having to set up an awning as well. So that's the first one. From there, you can get the drawer open without that as well. And you can pull it out all the way. Both runners have the full lockout as well, so they won't just shut in on you on a hill. Obviously from here you can see what I mean about the jittery. That does open up, and it doesn't interfere with anything over there. And then you can grab out your cooktop, everything else you want to do with it. So you're doing a kettle, everything's good to go in that regard. Alright, so from on top here, I'd like to say I planned this, but it was honestly, it was pure ass. With my induction cooker, but obviously I carpeted it inside, it sort of just fits in nicely where it sort of sits on that end, and then it just sort of squeezes down nicely, and it sort of stops it from rattling and moving around. I just put this on top of it just so nothing can sort of hurt it, and that's pretty much how it sits in there. It's just got the basics in there, like a little frying pan, some paper plates, that's all coffee stuff, knives, forks, everything else in a roll, and some random sauces and stuff, because you know, who doesn't carry a random sauce around. And then it's, that whole thing is a chopping board, which is proven to be amazing. You can sort of see a fair bit of use on it already, where all the stains are. Apparently I didn't clean that up very well, but absolute treat. Right, inside the drawers. So at the start here, I generally use this as the everyday junk stuff. So when I say that, like, that's chargers for drones and bits and bobs, it's spare batteries, all my cables and stuff for phones. That's spare batteries for the drone and a lot of camera equipment inside there. Kettle, because it didn't quite fit under the drawers. Tyre puncture repair kit, some lights, like toothpaste and toothbrush. Like everything's in there. Also in here is a little extendable leg. So that way, if this is out and I've got a fair bit of weight up here, I can basically just put that underneath, and that just sort of helps stabilise it overall. I haven't done anything else with like drilling holes or anything else. I've just literally jam it up under there, and it's fine. It's extendable. So depending on the ground you're on, you can have it for different lengths, but it works really well so far. The rest of this, so I actually went and got different bags for these drawers, because the ones I had were ever so slightly too tall. I didn't quite allow enough room for the bulge you get out of bags, so they were scraping along the inside edge here. So these are actually the Boss aluminium bags. Full disclosure, they did give them to me for free, but I wanted them. It wasn't just a, hey, promote our stuff. Like, I actually wanted these bags, and so far, this is going to sound bad, not towards Boss Aluminium, just bad in general, but most canvas bags these days made from good Australian companies are all pretty much on par for how good they are. A lot of the time it just comes down to branding, what brand you prefer, or like a colour, stuff like that. Obviously Boss Aluminium do, like, I think it's 4 different colours in their bags, which is bloody fantastic. I wanted the darker ones, but they're out of stock, so I ended up with the khaki ones. But, oh well, beggars can't be choosers. There's plenty of other decent brands out there as well, so if you're in the market for canvas bags, obviously look at the Boss aluminium ones. They're really good. They're on par with everything else out there as well. I'd probably personally steer clear of stuff like Crash Pad, where it's all made overseas, but there's some really good Australian made products out there, and support Australian, I reckon. In the bags though, we have stuff like just some random tools, ocky straps, hammers, head torches, pegs, just random stuff in this one. Oh, it's not random, it's camping stuff. Then in the back there is stuff like books, my Ute boom speaker, the silky saw, so I just need a hand saw for something, spare fuses, first aid kit, all that sort of stuff goes in that bag there as well, plus another light because it didn't quite fit in this one. But that's, honestly, that is about all you need for camping. You know, some people you see, oh, look at that light, it's destroying. It should readjust, there we go. You see some people with like 3 drawers in the back of their car, and they're chock-a-block full of stuff. And like, oh, I still need boxes, can't do. How much stuff are you taking camping? Seriously, let alone that, it's the weight you're adding to the car. This is a really thin drawer for my cooking stuff, a thin drawer just for the necessities, and that's 90% of what I take camping most times. Yes, when I've got the kids, I've also got more. I've got the camper trailer, I've got the caravan. But I can go camping with maybe one extra box in the back there, and it's a small box, and that's purely to hold mainly just the food stuff. So stuff that's like the perishables, say like the breads and all that sort of stuff would go in a box. That's all you need. So when you're designing your drawers, if you're not just copying these ones, which I don't care if you copy these, go nuts, that's what this video is about. Think about what you actually need when you go camping, rather than, sorry, it's too bright, rather than just trying to have as much storage as you can. that's my 2 cents anyway. The advantage to this sort of setup is obviously, you can see there's a chunk of space between the drawers and the top there, so I can get heaps of stuff in there for now compared to what I could get back in the 200 days. I was really struggling to sort of fit anything up the top here. Where this fairly loaded for our big trip, there was tons and tons of stuff in there. I had about a 60 litre ARB fridge in here. I couldn't open the lid, but it fitted up here perfectly fine. No dramas at all. I like it. I like it. So, if you guys like the video and this has been helpful for you, don't forget to give it a thumbs up because it really helps the channel grow and all the rest of it. And obviously subscribe. Really trying to get this channel to 50,000 subscribers because, I don't know, it's just a goal of mine. So if you haven't subscribed and you're watching the videos, probably please maybe think about subscribing and joining the YouTube family. That'd be awesome. And I'll see you next week, as always. Thanks, guys.